Imagine. Berlin, 1920. A vast villa, shrouded in the thick, coal-dust fog of a city teetering on the brink of collapse. Not in a grand hall, but in the windowless basement, the air hangs heavy with the scent of beeswax candles and old stone. Men draped in black robes stand in a circle. Their faces are lost in shadow, but their postures speak of authority, of a desperate, fanatical hunger. On the cold stone floor, a huge symbol is meticulously inscribed in chalk and ash. A swastika, not yet the ubiquitous emblem of hatred, but an ancient, twisted sigil, encircled by jagged, powerful runes. The Othula rune for blood and soil, the Sig rune for victory and battle. Under the low, vaulted dome of the ceiling, a suspended metal pendulum turns with an almost imperceptible, grinding slowness, its polished tip pointing to the center of the symbol as if drawing power from it. They aren't just discussing politics or bemoaning the Treaty of Versailles. They are performing a ritual. They are chanting in a guttural tongue, invoking forces they believe are older than Christendom, calling upon the wrath of forgotten gods to purge their defeated nation and forge it anew in a crucible of blood and myth. This was the Thule Society, a semi-secret, vehemently anti-Semitic and esoteric organization that mainstream historians often sideline as a curious footnote, an eccentric precursor to the brutal pragmatism of the Nazi state. But to dismiss it as such is to profoundly misunderstand the dark, mystical engine that drove the rise of the Third Reich. It was from this cauldron of occultism and racial fanaticism that something far more terrifying grew. The Reich, the SS, the entire industrialized system of destruction. But it all started not with a political manifesto, but with a myth. The Thule Society was an elitist, semi-occult group whose core belief was as grandiose as it was delusional. They posited that the true origin of the Germanic people, the Aryans, was not in Europe, but in the mythical northern continent of Hyperborea, a lost Arctic civilization of godlike beings who possessed superior spiritual knowledge and technology. They weren't merely seeking historical truth, they were seeking the power of this lost ancestry. A higher, almost divine power they believed was encoded in their very blood. Their symbol, the swastika, was for them not just an ancient artifact, but a potent magical sign of eternal motion and solar energy, a key to unlocking this dormant potential. The members of Thule weren't just eccentric mystics, they were the very men who would provide the financial and ideological backbone for the Nazi Party. Among them were bankers like Rudolf von Sebottendorf, aristocrats, former officers, and key figures like Alfred Rosenberg, who would become the party's chief ideological philosopher, Dietrich Eckart, who acted as a mentor to Hitler, and a young, impressionable Adolf Hitler himself, who absorbed this potent blend of mythology, racism, and resentment. The Thule Society's doctrine asserted that Germany's salvation and future glory lay in a return to a pure race, untainted by what they deemed inferior blood. They intensely studied runic magic, Norse mythology, and engaged in practices aimed at contacting higher beings, the spirits of ancient Aryan heroes. They believed that true Aryans possessed dormant superhuman abilities, telepathy, clairvoyance, an inner strength that could be awakened through rigorous ritual and will. It was the Thule Society that financed and provided the initial membership for the obscure German Workers' Party. Within a few short years, this party was transformed into the National Socialist German Workers' Party. It changed its flag, adopting the blood-red background, the white circle, and the black swastika, a direct gift from the occultists. It chose a new, fanatical ideology, a racial religion. This occult undercurrent did not vanish with the rise of political power. It became institutionalized. Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS, was a fanatical devotee of this mythology. He transformed Wewelsburg Castle into the sacred occult center of the Third Reich, a spiritual SS Vatican. In its north tower, in the chillingly named Hall of the Supreme Leaders, initiation rituals for high-ranking SS officers were conducted around a circular oak table. On the marble floor of the Obergruppenführer Saal lay the symbol of the Black Sun, a wheel of 12 jagged sig runes. This was not mere pageantry. For Himmler, it was a genuine article of faith. The SS employed astrologers, dowsers, and practiced meditative techniques, attempting to create a new pagan priesthood for the state. The Thule Society's secret doctrines even spoke of contact with higher Aryan beings from another planet or from the inner earth, leading to the Nazi obsession with Agartha and Shambhala. This belief fueled real-world expeditions to the mountains of Tibet in search of the Aryan homeland, to the forests of Doch was, wenn die Glocke tatsächlich funktionierte? Zeugenberichte deuten auf unerklärliche Phänomene hin. Pflanzen zerfielen in eine graue, gummiartige Masse. Metall korrodierte auf unnatürliche Weise und Testpersonen erlitten schockierende physiologische Schäden. Die Theorie besagt, dass es sich nicht um eine Waffe im herkömmlichen Sinne handelte, sondern um ein Gerät zur Manipulation des Raum-Zeit-Gefüges selbst. Einige glauben, dass die Nazis damit nicht nur fliegen, sondern durch die Zeit reisen oder Verbindung zu jenen höheren Wesen aus der Thule-Mythologie aufnehmen wollten. Die experimentellen Protokolle, so wird gemunkelt, beschrieben visuelle Verzerrungen, das Erscheinen von Kreaturen aus einer anderen Dimension und die Veränderung des Gravitationsfeldes. Vielleicht stießen sie auf etwas, das jenseits ihrer Kontrolle lag. Eine urtümliche Kraft, die sie weckten, aber nicht bändigen konnten. Das letzte Geheimnis der Glocke ist nicht ihr Zweck, sondern das, was sie tatsächlich aufrief. Und die Frage bleibt: Wurde das Projekt mit dem Fall des Reiches wirklich beendet oder wurde es woanders, im Geheimen, fortgesetzt?